Non-residential development or subdivision that proposes less than 10,000 square feet of gross floor area.
I missed that.
I'm at 11.2.2.
Yep, you're right. So it said 10,000 in the
It's in the existing. So do we want to leave it, or do y'all want to change it?
I think it's fine.
Anything else before we move on?
Is this the area that they have the caliper, they got the caliper like 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch?
This will be the chapter.
And so, it doesn't, get, specific as to the species of trees, it doesn't say.
It does.
It does?
That's in an appendix. And we're not changing the appendixes. We're not, when we redid the development code, we did not contract to update the appendixes.
Okay.
So there is the approved tree list, so to speak, approved lists of shrubbery, and that is what anything that you use in the city should come from.
Did you ever, did you get pushback from that, as to, species with, supply shortages that we have, that you wanted us to get a evergreen or?
I have heard that from the developers. As far as what we're looking at, though, is, okay, what's on your plan? You're telling us this is the list. And you're telling us what on that list you want to plant. So it's off the list. We check the box. That's what we expect to be planted. You get out there and order the trees, and you can't get the trees. So that's when you would come back to us. We go back to the list. What can you get? And modify the plans to show what you're actually putting in, and then plant those instead. 7.3.3 is another one that I had. Landscape plan required. And it says should be sealed by a landscape architect, and I'm in B. Landscape plan should be sealed by a landscape architect or certified by a horticulturist or certified landscape contractor. And Mr. Harbison, I think that's different than what the subcommittee came up with. But you discussed that.
We were striking a certified landscape contractor because we weren't sure what a certified landscape contractor was, whether there's such a thing. There are certified horticulturists and there's registered landscape architects.
And is that okay with y'all to delete that?
Yes. That's similar to you doing an addition at the, when you're trying to get plans, and if it's something simple, a hand-drawn, to get your permit, will suffice. Yeah.
Then it's 7.3.3. The maintenance guarantee. In order to, in 4A, it talks about the survival requires a maintenance guarantee prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy or final subdivision plat. Shall post a maintenance guarantee. I believe we had deleted from a certificate of occupancy in the study committee based on, say, And the thought process of it is you do $100,000 worth of landscaping. Well, you have a tree die and you don't repair it, the city could go against this guarantee and go out there and plant you a new tree. But the other thing is okay, you got $100,000 worth of landscaping out there, you let it all die, the city don't have the money to go out, you know. So, and we've never gone back on it. So it's something that sounds good, but in practicality, I don't know that it serves a purpose. In every CO that we do on a commercial building, we get down to the maintenance guarantee, and that's always a holdup because we're one of the few cities that do that. We do have another portion in the ordinance that requires them to maintain the landscaping based on the plan. So rather than the city holding it in their pocketbook, you know, if a tree dies or something, the city could go say, hey, you need to replace that tree, or we're going to write you a ticket every day till you do. We don't want to play that game. We don't want to go down that route. But there is another alternative for getting the trees replaced if that was needed. After 3 years, the bond goes away, so we have nothing after that, either, in any way. So, do y'all want to delete it or leave it, or?
How cumbersome is it to get that bond?
It is, they either put up cash or a letter of credit. You know, it's more of, I don't know that it's cumbersome. It takes a few days. And, or?
No, it took us at the church to get a performance bond. It took us 4 weeks.
All right, that's performance. We're talking about a
Maintenance.
But still, yeah, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's a difficult process to put the property owners through, and I think it was something that city staff brought. Tom Ziesler was pretty
Correct.
vocal on this one of we don't really have a leg to stand on anyway, I believe is essentially what he was saying.
Yeah. I'm thinking that it's clumsy and cumbersome.
It is. And then we have to track it. So but now we'd like to keep it for subdivisions. But delete it for the regular COs. That's all, okay.
In the cities, the big thing that Tommy hit on was the city's still protected with the maintenance standards.
Correct.
7, 10, 30.
We had a, this has been, I don't know, it's been quite a few years back, 7 years, 8, 9 years ago. The similar thing had, I think $100,000 worth of plantings, and the CO was being held up for, I don't know, it might have been $1,000 worth of plants. So that was kind of short-sighted. Got this $1 million building, $100,000 worth of planning, and you right.
The other note that I had was 7.6.1. And the note, and this is coming from another thing from the committee, and it said section 7.6.1, refer to table 10-2 and delete numbers 1, 2, and 3 from section 7.6.1. So I was struggling with this earlier today, trying to figure out what that meant.
What table?
Table 10-2, which jumps ahead. And I understand what it is now is conflicts between table 10-2. Here you have all street trees shall be planted in the center of a 10-foot planting strip. Root barrier, minimum width of a planting strip does not apply when subdivision trees. And then table 10.2 is giving you the planting strip width over here. And what you're saying over here is not what you're saying in 7.6.1. So basically, I would say that the 10-foot planting strip should go away, because 10.2 has your planting strips included in that street design. And that's where we're talking about here is street trees. As far as 2 and 3, I don't know why we would delete those.
I've got 3 and 4 crossed out. 1, 3, and 4 from our markup.
Well, that might have been a typo on my part. Couldn't read my notes
Saying
after the
2 is
meeting.
staying. But as I'm dealing with another issue currently, if it's an SCDOT road, I was talking to you about this earlier, they require 8 feet from the back of curb on a 35-mile-per-hour street. More from back of curb, the higher 45-mile-per-hour might be 12 feet from the back of curb. So if this is contradicting what SCDOT ARMS manual says, then
Well, this, if we're putting in street trees, it's a new street, and it's probably coming into,
a local street.
it's city street. So basically, what do we want to do with that? Anything?
What as recommended. You have it covered.
All right, what we gonna do there?
Get rid of 1, 3, and 4, and 7, 6, 1.
Delete 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah. 4 to that 10-foot planting strip.
1, 3, and 4. Also, do we also say refer to 10.2?
Yeah,
Got it. And that's my comments for this section. And I'm open to any from the commission. There is a lot in this chapter.
what issue were we discussing before about the planting, the director?
Thank you. One of the things I forgot to put in my notes is sometimes we have a conflict with planting strips. And you have to take trees from our tree list. Well, if you have overhead power lines, you run into a conflict with the power company or the telephone company, whoever has that easement. And so what I was thinking about is, and again, I don't like to do this, but maybe give the director the authority to waive the planting strip in lieu of other plantings. Like Dominion has a list of plants that they'll allow in that planting strip. So what if we don't do that? Well, then you get into a conflict with the power company. Power company says, our easement, we're cutting the trees down. I've heard that one argued both ways before. But in any case, trees growing up into overhead power lines are an issue. All you have to do is think about the next ice storm. So that was just a question, and since we had a work session, y'all mind? Thank you.
I can breathe better.
Excuse me?
I said I can breathe better now.
But does that, how do y'all feel about that?
I agree with it.
Yeah, I like it. Makes a lot of sense.
If you go down Bunning and you look at the trees on Bunning, they didn't lollylopped. The trees are sticking up like this.
Yeah, it ended up looking terrible.
Yeah. So,
Extra work for the power company, which makes the city look worse. For property owners.
and going down Bunning, the last ice storm, I can't remember when it was a mess. Yeah. And then when you have another ice storm and the trees are lollylopped up like that, they're still gonna fall. It's not gonna fall on the line.
Does 7324E accomplish what you're trying to do there, Tommy? Or maybe some minor revision to that?
It might. Hang on just a second.
Which one is it? 7-3?
7324E.
Power lines.
Looks like it's just about exactly what it says.
All right, 7.4,
7324E.
7.3. That's way back there.
Planning director may approve the installation of comparable substitute plants, materials. to
7.3.
satisfy the approved landscaping plan when approved plants and landscaping materials are not available at the time the installation are to occur. That's what you're saying, prior to, or when other unforeseen conditions prevent the use of. And the unforeseen condition would be the easement.
Well, and that, the first part covers the other section too. That covers a couple of things we've talked about with the
The
plants
use
not
of
being
exact
available.
materials shown.
Which one particular was you talking about?
7324E.
4E.
Basically accomplishing, giving the planning director the authority to make landscape changes for
Shortages.
material and unforeseen conditions.
I think you could argue it. My concern is that you can argue it. I would prefer to have something that says, boom, you can do this.
So they could probably just add to that.
And I'm just being selfish there, that open. I don't get in an argument with somebody about you're interpreting it wrong.
So you're saying just
Yeah,
wording it specifically to cover the power company's easement?
Right.
Would you just add that detailed description into this section?
Probably so. Probably so. Probably add a G. But then I don't have, well, some people, I think y'all understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So do you want to have it as G, or do you want to tack on to E?
I say just add it on the E, it fits right in with E, it's just not specifically named.
Okay.
You can put also, and it says unforeseen conditions prevent.
Refer to the professionals.
Well, and unforeseen
Is not accomplishing.
is overhead power lines.
Unforeseen.
Yeah, that's, see, and,
There's
yeah,
the
so,
argument.
see how we're already arguing the,
You're gonna wordsmith it?
yes, sir. Thank you, Rhett. What else we got in this chapter? There is not a tree fund currently. Correct.
And explain it, y'all tree fund, the concept. Who funds it, how is it funded?
Trees.
And you're gonna then exempt him from putting that specific species in the area that was required?
Say, you have to put in a large tree every 40 feet. But because the way driveways and traffic and streetlights lay out, just pulling a figure, he's supposed to put in 100 trees. And he could only put in 90. Would fit. Then those other 10 trees, he would pay into the tree fund. Or if there was some other thing that, you're required to put this in, but you can't fit it all in, well, you still have to pay for it. You don't get a free ride. You pay it, the difference into the tree, you landscape your property as much as you can and put the difference in the tree fund. And then that fund is set aside over here for the city to plant trees in different locations in the city.
How'd y'all come up with that?
A lot of cities use it.
Let me play.
Well,
Let me
Yeah.
play devil's advocate. We've got like on Martintown Road, where they're doing that geological study, they got all these boulders and everything. And so the boulders are pushed down and they can't really get the tree planting. It almost seems like a tax to say, well, the ordinance says you need 80 trees, and the topography doesn't allow itself to 80 trees, but you still got to pay it anyway. So if I'm a contractor, I'm thinking I'm gonna make this place look nice with the boulders, and I can't really plant a tree. So I should not have to put in a tree fund. I see it as a tax.
and that is why it is here. That's why we're having this discussion. If it's something that the planning commission doesn't want, we can take it out.
I see the idea behind it, but I kind of agree. Like, if it works out to where they don't have to buy those 10 trees, they just got a little bonus back.
Where's that at, Rhett? What section's that? You remember?
Seven, 3, 2, 4, F. Landscape and improvements guarantee.
Yeah.
Tommy, I need you to give me some pushback on your,
Well, I'm not used to pushing back. You are the appointed folks, and I'm not used to being insubordinate.
no, you're supposed to push back.
But if you would like,
I gave a feeling, but it doesn't necessarily mean that my feeling is.
well, if you want me to argue the other way,
Yeah, I want you to argue that.
this was an expense that developer should have anticipated pay. And this is an expense that his competition on a different site would have to pay. So why shouldn't he have to pay it? And so if he's got to pay it, where should it go? Well, why do we have the trees? I'm getting on a roll now, Mr. Keith.
Go ahead. I'm
Why do we
listening.
have trees? Why do we even have this? The beauty of the community and the public good. Well, if you're not, there was a certain amount he was supposed to do here, but shouldn't he make up the difference and do good to the public, for the public over here? And then the city can take that and put it in those parts of the city that needs replenishing, that needs the trees to bring beauty to parts of the city that may otherwise not ever get city trees. Now, having said that, if y'all want to take it out, I'm not, I'm just making an argument
Okay,
for the other side.
I needed an argument. You,
Say what? When it's said and done, I would think it would come under public services. That's how they typically are, where the horticulturist controls it. And so, he needs trees for a particular project, he can go into that. Or he needs trees for a particular road improvement. It just gives you some money over there for that extra, that the tax base, wouldn't have to cover.
now you put a kink in my argument when you said competition. I felt a little. You did
I saw you there.
a little body punch. I took. I would be softened to the idea if it would have to be notoriously known up front that this is the plan, and the 100 trees will either be planted, and if they cannot be planted, that it goes into the fund. But I wouldn't want that to be an afterthought. You understand what I'm saying?
I would see that coming in at the beginning when we do the
In the design
in the design phase. If they get out, unless they get out there and run into some unforeseen problems, it's like you go to plant it and it's concrete there or something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but typically, I would think we'd pick this up on the
yeah.
review.
And is this typical? You said for municipalities to have a.
I know we had one in Aiken. And I think they are typical, not uncommon around the state.
Having gone through a process shortly, I really felt, and I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. I'm a residential lender, and so I can say it's going to be cost going to be 3.5%, 4%. Smaller loan, the larger percentage of the cost of doing business. Then you look at the cost of plans, then the tap-in fees and all this other stuff. It is expensive. And so that was my knee-jerk reaction, that another doggone expense building in the city. So that's what that reaction was about. It's like you pay to go vertical, you pay to go horizontal, you pay to tap in this, you pay. You feel that?
I've dealt with that recently. Well, and like you say, if it's something that's in our situation that I personally dealt with is a little different because we want to build from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with us is every corner there's something else that we didn't know about to begin with. Whereas if it is all up front and you see it on the planning side and they're aware of it and they agree to it, then I'm fine just, like I said, was almost not able to open a business because things
Hidden costs.
hidden costs, absolutely. Tens of thousands of dollars that we were not aware of, and we did tons of research.
As that I thought over my head.
And I got to ask the question, how much of that was from the city? Is most of that? Yeah.
All of it?
Wow.
We can talk details later.
Yeah.
When I came to the planning commission, and I don't want to prolong this, feel a little nostalgic tonight. North
He's
Augusta,
excited he's moving out of vice chair.
North Augusta was had a reputation of had to put sidewalks, hard to get a permit. I mean, it's on and on and on because I've always worked in Augusta. It's just they said it's the hardest place to work. To develop and to work and whatnot. And so when I came on the planning commission, that was just filtered into my head. And then having been a part of all of this, you see why. That there are costs involved in a lot of things in which we do. So it changed my sentiments about interconnectivity. Most people said, I don't want anybody to drive through my neighborhood. But then when you go to an area that's commercial and it's not connected, you said, Lord have mercy. How am I got to go all the way back out here to get to the traffic light when it should have been connected. So, but it appears that we have a lot of costs that are just associated to doing something within the city. And I'm thinking, if North Augusta is like this, what is it like for Charleston? Child's play with, yeah.
Well, see, there's a balance there because there are places that are much easier to build in or do a business in. But you drive through there, just like you're saying, you drive through and like, oh, this is not well done.
Right.
So there's a place. I am not a rules kind of guy, which is hilarious that I'm but like you, I've seen the bad with no rules, which feels good, but doesn't produce good quality. But you can get so strict and so hard that you run so many businesses off. I know several people that have been interested in starting a business and won't do it in North Augusta, or tried to do it and couldn't, and they've moved to elsewhere.
Tell them to come back and try again. Times have
Yeah.
changed.
Tommy said there's a new sheriff in town.
We're gonna try to work with people. I ain't gonna say we got the rules, but the other thing about having the rules is, you take the cost out of it, and I understand everything has a cost, but it sets the tone for the community.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, is it well kept or not? And if you don't look well kept, you may not get some of the opportunities that you would if you did look well kept. You know, that first impression type thing. And North Augusta has a good first impression.
Yeah, we do have a cherry on top of the Sunday in North Augusta, and you know, I sometimes vocalize my feelings, and I sometimes am hard on engineers with the micro, but we don't have building collapsing and water mains burst, and we don't have power surges, and so I get it. It's just I get it.
Mr. Key, when
Yeah,
I
streets not flooded.
when I came to work here, I was talking to a developer that I knew, and I told him, yes, I've gone to North Augusta. Yeah, you can fuss at me. And he looked at me. He says, Tommy, he says, I don't have any problems developing in North Augusta. He says, thing about North Augusta is they really do a plan review. And what that does is that saves me money when I get in the field, because I'm not having a bunch of change orders. That whenever I pay a plan review fee, to these other towns and counties and stuff, and they halfway look at my plans. I get in the field and I got those change orders, it costs. And that just, to me, that spoke volumes about why we do it the way we do it in North Augusta.
I like living here. I like the greenway and
It's getting better too.
yeah. So you've changed my mind. You've beat my argument.
Well, have I changed, are all of y'all on board with the tree fund? All right, while I'm thinking about it, I'm getting forgetful. There's educational requirement certificate form by each one of y'all's desk. That is, if you would sign that, that's certifying that you've done this training, your annual training for the year. It's basically what you sent me, put on the form for you to sign. If I can get those from you before I forget it.
Rhett did a few extra hours for you.
It,
He's a well-trained man.
also, you paid for it, then I paid for it again. And so they were supposed to refund, but I did not go back and look because of the access.
Okay.
But I called the association and we got it straight.
All right. Anything else? Anything else in chapter 7? Mr. Key? Anything else in chapter 7?
No.
All right.
Normally pays for it.
So let's move to chapter 8.
Just out of curiosity.
Yes.
How long do we plan on going?
I'm going till y'all tell me you want to stop.
I just got a wife with 4 kids. She's gonna be starting to get in bed by herself soon. She's not gonna be happy about it.
Hey, I'm with y'all. You know, at what point do y'all want to call it a night?
How many more chapters?
I feel like we're almost halfway.
When is the
Yeah.
when do you need?
We really have. I've got a good, we didn't really look at signs. And I've got a good many, as you can see on the list there, I've got a good many things for signs.
When do you
Um,
need the review to have been completed? Surely not a month from now.
No, sir. We could, if y'all want to talk about stopping, we could, the question is do you want to meet again before your next regular planning commission meeting? Do you want to schedule a work session sometime in the next few weeks, or do you want to move it to next month? I would suggest we try to go ahead while we're on a roll and try to fit something in the next few weeks, just to keep the momentum flowing while you get in, you're into it. You kind of know how the book is rolling, and so you kind of got it in your system.
I would prefer to do it in a week or so. I don't want to put it off.
Or you'd be doing it like tonight. You stop and have the meeting and then come back. You are correct. I can tell you what it's going to look like. For a little bit, you got 5 annexations. And those aren't biggies, and I forget what the other thing is. All right, where's my calendar? That ain't
I mean, that light that was out,
good.
and fixed, and it's the brightest that light up there has been out for almost since I started, and this is the first time it's been fixed. Now this one's out.
I'll see what I can
They
do.
probably just switch bulbs on them to satisfy.
All right, so today's the 18th. Next Wednesday's the 25th. Y'all want to do it then?
I would prefer this to get it open. So
Mr. Elliott?
Put it down, and I will check my work schedule and everything, and send the secretary away. And,
Secretary, nothing, you're gonna check with the boss, but go ahead.
Yeah. We know, we all know
Yep.
this.
Brett, is that okay
yeah.
with you? Mr. Bigger? All right, so it's January 25th. Six o'clock, okay with everybody? Uh-oh. Well, you won't be on a Segway, you'll be in a wheelchair. All right, well, and if, y'all want to move forward with chapter 8 or call it a night, it's y'all's call.
can we get a motion to adjourn? Properly motion that we adjourn. Hearing nobody to object, the meeting is adjourned.
Y'all do good. Yes, sir. I will send out